I wanted to do this video for a very, very long time, so here is my list of my top 12 favorite fictional characters of all time. Now, I wasn't going to do a top 10 list. I was going to do a top 10, but there were a few characters where I just didn't feel like making them honorable mentions. So I made a top 12, and there still will be an honorable mentions list later down on the list. But until then, let's get right into it. So, number 12 in my... first off, favorite fictional characters. That includes anything fiction, so games, movies, books, shows, anything like that, just to explain. And then just my favorite characters from those. So, okay, first off, number 12, Arthur Morgan from Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, this is my favorite video game of all time. It has a great story, great open world. And then one of the best parts of the game is definitely in its character work and its protagonist, Arthur Morgan. Before I get into the actual character itself, they do Roger Clark, who voiced the character. He does an amazing job. The character seems so real, even though you know he's in a video game. He looks so great with the graphics. Roger Clark does an amazing job voicing him, and how it truly does look like Arthur Morgan in the game is actually saying those things. So great effects on the character, first off. Great voice performance. But what I love about the character is kind of how he's kind of the right-hand man to Dutch, the head of the gang. So, you're not playing this as, a grunt in the gang. You're playing this as someone who's very close to the leader. And you're kind of seeing as this gang, as his leader kind of goes crazy in their quest for freedom, they're doing more and more risky things, putting the people they know at risk. And Arthur's a person who, he has morals, but he isn't afraid to kill when he needs to. And you can see that he has respect and he cares for everyone in the gang. And as the story goes along and he realizes what's going on, he starts to become more caring, more helpful. And he ends up sacrificing so much in order to help the Marston family and just other people in his gang. Where he's just a great character. He has great growth throughout the game. And he has so many wonderful, emotional moments and scenes in the game that I just had to put him on the list. So, number 12, Arthur Morgan. At number 11 is Wally from WALL-E. So I just like the character because, he's really cute, and I loved WALL-E as a kid, still love it now. He made the list just because I love how they managed to portray, kind of showing what Wally's thinking, what he's doing, what he wants, what he's trying to say, almost entirely without words. Wally says maybe 3 or 4 words in this movie, most, with over half of those consisting of just names of other characters, and any other words I'm pretty sure just being plant. But it is really cool how they take this robot and they make him kind of have emotions without having to say any words. Kind of like R2-D2, but better, more expressive. It's kind of the way he moves his eyes. There's a lot of emotional moments for the character. He has a good kind of sacrificial moment near the end of the movie. They do a good job with his relationship with Eve. And this character is great, but, Wally. At number 10 on this list is Woody from the Toy Story franchise. Now, the Toy Story series is my favorite series of animated films. I think every film is amazing, and they're all great because of the characters and the moments and kind of the connections to childhood and growing up. And one character who goes throughout a significant journey throughout these 4 movies is Woody. In the first movie, he's Andy's favorite toy. He's kind of the king of the bedroom. He doesn't want to share the spotlight with anyone else in the room. But then when Buzz comes along, he has to learn to kind of grow and learn that he's not always going to be Andy's, most played with toy, but he's always going to be special to Andy. And he grows to learn that as he builds a friendship with Buzz. In the second movie, he goes on to wonder, eventually his time with Andy is going to run out. Maybe it would be worth it if he stood forever in a museum. But then he realized, the best thing for him is, to be played with by a child, and who loves him more than Andy. The third movie is him learning to move on from Andy, that Andy doesn't need him anymore, and that there's definitely a kid out there who could use him a lot more. And then the fourth film is him kind of accepting, he's got to do what he wants to do, not what, he has to do for his kid. So he goes throughout this great journey throughout these movies, as he goes kind of the Andy stage to his life, and there's so many characters going in and out, along with a terrific voice performance by Tom Hanks. Woody is number 10 of this list. At number 9, Samwise Gamgee from The Lord of the Rings. Now, this is one of my favorite movie trilogies of all time, and Samwise Gamgee has always been my favorite character because of his loyalty and his bravery, and he has some of the best moments in the movie, whether it's his speech in Two Towers, battling Shelob, the big spider in Return of the King, or just carrying Frodo all the way up Mount Doom. I mean, Sam is so important that if he hadn't joined Frodo, Frodo probably would have died much earlier on in the story. And even though Frodo gets all the glory, without Sam's kind of the backbone of their journey. And I love how at the end of his story, instead of kind of being like Frodo and kind of going on, he settles down, starts a family, is happy. And I know eventually he goes on with Frodo. I'm reading the books right now, so I'm excited to kind of see it from a new perspective. But just kind of his loyalty and his bravery and the fact that he is the backbone of the whole adventure just takes this character to new heights for me. And I like him a lot. So, the number 9, Samwise Gamgee. At number 8 on this list, maybe one of my favorite TV characters of all time, Ahsoka Tano from Star Wars The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, and maybe The Mandalorian Season 2. We will see. But anyway, so Ahsoka's a great character because she has great development throughout everything that she's been through. Whether she kind of starts off as this kind of overconfident Padawan at the beginning of the Clone Wars movie, and you really see her grow throughout the show. She's a great dynamic with people like Anakin, ObiWan, Rex, where she kind of has the master-apprentice relationship with Anakin, and even a little with Obi-Wan, but she still builds these friendships with them. Kind of her, friendship with Rex, where they're kind of always constantly competing with something, but they're still good friends, and you could tell. And then, just her growth as she kind of realizes that the Jedi aren't perfect, and if she wants to help the galaxy, she has to do it in her own way, not to help the Jedi. And then her amazing emotional moments with Vader during Rebels. When she comes back during Rebels, she doesn't have a lot to do, but whatever she does do, she's really cool. Her emotional moments with Vader in Star Wars Rebels Season 2 are just amazingly well written. She has a lot of great scenes. There are a lot of great arcs that Ahsoka gets to shine, like the Mortis arc, or Siege of Mandalore, or the final few episodes of Season 5 in the Clone Wars, where you just really get to see Ahsoka grow against the Jedi more into her own person. She's a great character. And yeah, so number 8, Ahsoka from Star Wars The Clone Wars. At number 7, I'm not going to do this anymore, Batman. Okay, so Batman. Who doesn't love Batman? He's one of my favorite superheroes. Everyone loves bats. Or not necessarily bats, but bats as in Batman. Batman is so great just because he's one of the most iconic superheroes. He's got the backstory that you all know about, his parents being killed. But there's so many different interpretations of the character that all have something special about Batman. I mean, something special about him are kind of how he doesn't have any superpowers. He does everything on his own. He has these cool gadgets. He has an amazing rogues gallery of villains. He has great kind of side characters like Robin and Alfred and Batgirl and Gordon. And then one of the things that makes Batman shine is his moral not to kill, and how he wants to fight criminals, but he cares about human life and he wants to preserve it. So Batman's always been one of the most iconic superheroes, and there are many interpretations of him that have different kind of depth to his character. But I'd say almost all of them are good, besides, maybe like George Clooney, Val Kilmer, and a few more places. But overall, Batman's great. He's great in the movies, he's great in the comics, he's great in shows, he's great in games. No matter what, you can never really go wrong with Batman. At number 6, Captain America. Well, what more can I say? Captain America's Captain America. I've always liked the character in some TV shows I watched as a kid. He's kind of the moral compass of the Avengers. His power set isn't too great, just a bit of super strength and the shield, but that's all he needs. He works best as a leader to the Avengers. And then, so I grew up loving him in these shows. And then I actually do have quite a few Captain America comics. I have a lot of them. And he has a lot of great comics, because with Captain America, he's never really out of place. You can have him fighting aliens in space. You can have him fighting Nazis, secret organizations, terrorists. Captain America is just, your all-American hero, and he works great at that. And then the MCU, Chris Evans' version, they did an amazing job with him. As he kind of grows throughout the journey, and especially in many of his amazing moments in Endgame. And then I love his whole trilogy in the MCU. And then his big finale, his final moments in Endgame with all those scenes, they're just great. They make me love the character even more. So at number 6, Captain America. And now on to the top 5, starting with everyone's favorite protector of the high ground, Obi-Wan Kenobi from Star Wars. I love Obi-Wan in the many different interpretations of him. He's pretty good in New Hope. I like him in A New Hope, but probably one of my least favorite interpretations of the character. I think Alec Guinness did a good job as this wise old mentor, but he doesn't really have the agility to be like kind of this old Obi-Wan figure. His lightsaber fight with Vader, well, it has a lot of emotion and stakes. In spectacle, it isn't that great. But I do kind of like Obi-Wan as the mentor of Luke in the original trilogy. But where Obi-Wan really shines is the Clone Wars era, whether it's in the prequels with his amazing performance by Ewan McGregor. Ewan McGregor was one of the best actors in the prequels, maybe even the best actor in the prequels. You can really see that he's doing his best with the lines he was given. And even though he isn't that great in Episode 1, in Episode 1 his line delivery is pretty bland. In Episode 2 and 3, he's the star of the show. He gets great side plots and action scenes, dynamics with Anakin and Grievous and Dooku and Yoda, cool moments, funny lines, and overall, he's probably one of the main heroes of the prequels besides Anakin. And he does have a lot of emotional moments, which Ewan McGregor plays off great. But then he's definitely, maybe the best interpretation of Obi-Wan is Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars TV show, where you kind of see his building relationship with Maul. They kind of build his relationship with a new person, Satine, showing that Obi-Wan definitely does have feelings for certain people. He has an amazing dynamic with Anakin and Obi-Wan and the gang. And then they reserve the best, they reserve the best stories for Obi-Wan with the Maul stories, or the story where he pretends to be a bounty hunter and fakes his death in order to stop a separatist plot. And he just gets great stories, great moments, and Star Wars just loves Obi-Wan, and I'm excited to see where his show goes. At number 4 is Spider-Man. Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. There are a lot of interpretations of this character, whether it's in movies, comics, games, shows. My Spider-Man when I grew up was Drake Bell's Spider-Man from the Ultimate Spider-Man TV show. And I liked his interpretation. It just kind of got Spider-Man as this funny wisecracker who's always going to do the right thing. And then I watched the Tobey Maguire movies, and I like the Tobey Maguire movies, but they're more corny than I'd like. Andrew Garfield movies are too dark. But then my 3 favorite interpretations of Spider-Man are, of course, comic Spider-Man. And I have a few of his books. They're all pretty good. But my favorite 2 interpretations are Yuri Lowenthal from the Spider-Man PS4 game and Tom Holland from the MCU Spider-Man movies. I like Yuri Lowenthal's interpretation because he does seem like the true kind of comic Spider-Man, but he has this big centralized story with many emotional moments. I love kind of his mentorship with Dr. Octopus and his relationship with Aunt May and how he kind of works at a homeless shelter but still makes time to fight crime. It's a good interpretation, and I love Tom Holland's version because he's so relatable. He's this great youthful energy, and you can see that he's really excited to enter the fight because he's just a kid and he's excited to be working alongside with these heroes. But as it goes on, he's kind of like, he does kind of have this similar thing to Tobey Maguire where he's like, I'm not sure I want to be Spider-Man anymore because it's just becoming so much. I've watched so many people die. I've fought in these huge battles. But he still does want to be Spider-Man. He doesn't want to just hang up the suit, which is why I think I like him a little bit more than Tobey Maguire's version. But I like Spider-Man because he's a relatable hero. He has human problems, and that just makes him great. But he still has these great superhero plots and powers, and probably a rogues gallery that's second only to Batman. Great side characters and love interests, and so many great comic moments that you just gotta love Spider-Man. On to the top 3 with Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker, he has so many great moments. Of course, I've never been the biggest fan of comic Luke. I haven't read too many comics with him. Luke's best moments are definitely in the original trilogy and The Last Jedi. He is in Force Awakens and Rise of Skywalker, but he doesn't do much in Force Awakens. But yeah, Luke Skywalker is great because in the original trilogy, he has the classic hero's journey story where, he starts off as this farm boy who goes on a great adventure, gets a mentor, meets new friends, saves the galaxy. And then Luke, it's great because of his impatience, makes him an imperfect character, but it kind of shows where he can grow. And then in Return of the Jedi, we do see him become this wise Jedi, but he's still struggling with becoming a Jedi and having to face his father. He goes through so many struggles throughout the journey. Kind of as this, optimistic kid in Empire, in New Hope, and then moving up to Empire, where he's just ready to become a Jedi, but he's too impatient. Then he is technically a Jedi in Return of the Jedi, but he's not ready if he wants to face the Skywalker legacy and Vader. And then in the sequels, they bring in Luke as kind of the old mentor, and a lot of people don't like Luke in The Last Jedi. I love Luke in The Last Jedi. I love his tease at the end of Force Awakens. But yeah, I just love Luke Skywalker in the sequels. He has a lot of great moments and lines, and his final battle against Kylo in The Last Jedi is amazing. And then he has a great final few moments in The Rise of Skywalker. So at number 3, Luke Skywalker. Now at number 2, I am kind of cheating here, but just the golden trio from Harry Potter. Harry, Ron, Hermione. They're great in the books, they're great in the movies. I love them because they all have a great dynamic, but they all they grow throughout the stories. Harry, he's the central focus of the movies and the books. I mean, his story. And he's great because they kind of have, this whole Chosen One story, but with him in school, he is still relatable, he complains about homework, he has girl issues, he gets in fights, he gets mad, just a regular kid, but then, he's in magic school, so J.K. Rowling does a great job writing the books. I really like her style. It's my favorite book series, Prisoner of Azkaban being my personal favorite, and then I love Ron. Just kind of, in the movies, he's kind of the funny side character, but in the movies and the books, he does kind of grow. He has a lot of brave, strong moments. I love his kind of love relationship with Hermione. They have a great thing in the final movie. And then, of course, who may be my favorite of the 3, Hermione Granger. She's kind of great as the smart one who's always getting them out of issues, but you can see sometimes she's a little insecure. But she just has a great friendship with the other 2. They're kind of her main only friend, because you don't really see a lot of scenes with her with the other girls, with Gryffindor. She doesn't seem to be great friends with them. So her only really being friends with Harry and Ron and Neville and stuff. She's just great in the movies and the books. And then I don't really have a lot to say about these 3 characters. Just their dynamic and their friendships and how they grow older and grow as characters throughout the books and movies is just great. It's great writing, great storytelling, and I just like them a lot. On to the honorable mentions. I'm just going to go through these quick. Phineas and Ferb, Yoda, Iron Man, Remus Lupin, Captain Rex, Rick Sanchez, Albus Dumbledore, Princess Leia, and Han Solo. And if you could not tell, I was looking at a list as I read those. But, yeah, those are the honorable mentions. Characters who I like, but I didn't want to make this list too long. So, I mean, you can tell I like Rick Sanchez. But then, number 1 on the list is, I'm sure you could guess this considering the channel name, but number 1 on the list is Anakin Skywalker / Darth Vader. What can I say about this character? He probably has some of the most interpretations, different versions of him. Whether it's Episode 1, or the second 2 prequels, or Clone Wars, or Vader, the original trilogy, Rogue One. There's just so many versions of him. Probably my least favorite interpretation of Anakin. Even the least favorite interpretation of the character, I still love. Or don't love, but it still have their good moments. Like Episode 2 Anakin, I can see where they're going for, even though his lines and execution for his character development aren't great. He still has very many funny, quotable, meme lines that I like. Episode 1 Anakin, I do like the optimism. He has a great pod racing scene. So, and I do think Jake Lloyd does a good job, even if he wasn't given a lot to work with. But, and then Episode 3 Anakin, I like him. I like that interpretation of the character. I love kind of his first 20 minutes, or first 20, 30 minutes with ObiWan, breaking the hand. They have a great, fun kind of banter and dynamic there as he saves the Chancellor and they fly in their ships. And then he does have good development throughout the movie. He looks cool, has a lot of great action scenes. But then definitely the 2 best versions of this character are just anything where he's Vader and him in the Clone Wars. Starting with the Clone Wars, they take the best parts of Anakin from the prequels, combine them with kind of, they make them cool in the prequels, and that's what's great. He's kind of cool, he's got this kind of bravado about him. They give him great relationships with Ahsoka and Obi-Wan and Rex and R2. And then he's just a likable character in the prequels. You got the best, or in the Clone Wars. You got the best of him from the prequels. You can see he's turned to his dark side, but it feels a lot more natural and a lot more over a longer space of time and not hunched into like a week. And then Anakin as Darth Vader is, he's Darth Vader. He's the coolest villain of all time. Like, he works in the original trilogy as kind of the main villain. He has a great redemption in Episode 6. And then with Vader, you can also just throw him into any Star Wars story and it makes it better. Just give him a few minutes where he destroys some guys, has a dramatic entrance with his breathing, maybe has one good line, and then, boom, you have a winning story. Whether it's the Vader Down comics, Rogue One, Fallen Order, Vader is just a great character. Anakin Skywalker is just a great character. In / Vader, there's tragedy, there's redemption, there's family, and you just gotta love his story. So that's why Anakin / Vader is my favorite character in anything. Hope you liked the video, and I'll see you guys later. This was a long one, but bye-bye.